Good morning. I'm Miss Carol and I get the pleasure of reading to you again today. I picked a story that's called Destructive David, Esmeralda the Very Curious Peacock. It's written by Franklin Straus and illustrated by Bartholomew. I like this story because it talks about love in a different way than maybe we normally think about it. Esmeralda is what's called a natural sculpture. She has a driftwood body, a pine cone head, she has feathers, shells for her beak, and snail shells for her eyes. And this story talks about love in maybe a different way than we normally think about it. We love our parents. We say we love chocolate chip cookies. I love my comfortable old shoes. Those things are love. They make us happy. But I want to read this story and then maybe we'll talk just real quick about a different kind of love. Esmeralda is certainly a unique kind of sculpture. But the story starts out with David slammed the screen door and hopped off the back steps right on his mother's freshly planted geraniums. "What do I care?" he scoffed. "Dumb old flowers. What good are they anyway?" David didn't see much good in anything. A small sparrow sat on a tree branch. Peep, peep, it chirped. Swish! David threw a stone at the tiny bird. It fluttered away just in time. "Stupid bird!" David yelled. David climbed up in the tree. He saw a robin's nest with 3 tiny blue eggs in it. Swat! He knocked the nest to the ground. Luckily, it landed in a bush unharmed. "That's all we need, more chattering, chirping birds. Who needs them?" A small spider was carefully weaving her silvery web. Plop! David took a stick and tore the web down. The spider sailed high into the air. All the hours and hours of hard work had to be done over again. Ugh, yucky old spiders, I hate them. David kicked over flower pots, threw rocks at squirrels, broke down young trees, and poured soap into the fish pond to get rid of the frogs. "They're all dumb, stupid things," he said. "I'd destroy it all if I could." Most of all, David liked stepping on anthills. Picture shows him stomping on a poor anthill. It was Saturday, and David had decided to go to the park where he could throw rocks at the birds. There, he noticed a sign, "Art exhibit." He decided to go in for a while. Up and down the aisles he walked, looking at first one picture and then another. He looked at the large scenic landscapes. He looked at the watercolor seascapes, the wildlife, the birds. "Weird," David said. "Who would want to buy this junk?" That's when David saw her. The sign read, "Esmeralda, the Very Curious Peacock, a natural sculpture." Her brightly colored feathers glistened in the sunlight. "Esmeralda, you're ugly," laughed David. "You're only looking with your eyes," someone said. "Who said that?" David looked around. He didn't see anyone, so he plucked a feather from the bird. "Ouch! Stop that this minute and put my feather back." Did you say that?" David asked, looking at the unusual sculpture in surprise. I certainly did, answered the peacock. Now put my feather back right where you found it. And if I don't? Suddenly, he found himself looking into Esmeralda's eyes. Her gigantic sweep of tail feathers seemed to reach out and touch his arm. His hand, which still held the feather, moved slowly towards Esmeralda and did not stop until the feather was back in place. She was the largest bird the boy had ever seen, and she was also the most beautiful. But he didn't tell her that. He was much too frightened. Before he could pull his hand away from her plumage, he heard Esmeralda speaking to him in a voice so filled with love and understanding that he had to listen. Come, she said, follow me. David was frightened. What was happening? See the sky, see the earth, smell the air, taste the clear waters, see the valleys and the mountains, see God's wonderful creation, see the sun, the moon, the stars, the coming and going of the seasons. See the animals, both large and small. See yourself, David. I don't get it, the boy said. I don't get it at all. You will, answered Esmeralda. You will when you learn to see with your heart. If it is as truly we must believe, we are here for good and purpose and not just by your leave, then all that I has much to seek and give, and much to learn and thank for the way we really live. And every living thing that needs care and love, more and more I understand, it comes from God above. And David remembered, during the next few weeks, David thought about his conversation with the curious bird in the park. Baloney, shouted David. Frogs and ants, birds and flowers, they don't have a purpose. Why did God make them? But David began to watch. The baby birds hatched and had begun to try to fly. The mother bird took time to teach her small fledglings how to flap their wings. And David remembered how his mother had taught him how to do things on his own. He smiled. He looked at the geraniums he had crushed. The warm sun and rain had helped them bounce back, and the flowers were growing strong and straight. And David smiled. The spider had weaved her web again, and with the sun shining on it, it was truly beautiful. It was like the lace tablecloth his grandma used at Thanksgiving. The ants had rebuilt their home again. David watched as two ants carried a load much, much larger than they were. They managed it by working together. How simple it was when they worked together. David stood up. I'm sorry, God. Everything you created is good and for a purpose. Help me understand that and to have purpose in my life. It was Saturday again. Esmeralda, Esmeralda, David shouted. I know what you were trying to show me. Before I looked with my eyes instead of my heart. Excuse me, said a man standing near. Are you talking to this dried up piece of driftwood with feathers stuck in it? Is that all you see? Asked David. The man didn't answer. He just walked away, shaking his head. David smiled, but if the man had been looking, really looking, he would have seen Esmeralda wink her eye. I really like this story, and it reminds me so much of love, because love means we have a purpose, and it means we care about those around us, and we want to share God's creation with everything and everyone. I hope you enjoyed the story of Destructive David and Esmeralda. Thank you.